going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 30 of To the Show We Go. We got a full house today. It's Jamie Gatlin, Chris Henrique, and myself, Andrew Parker. If you haven't got a chance to check out some of our most recent episodes, we've had Roman Anthony, Grant Gambrell, a few other guys before that. Definitely go back and check those out. Obviously, Roman Anthony comes as advertised, top prospect in the stock system. So go check that one out if you get a chance. Today, I don't know the official title here, but I'm going to just say that it is, I think you're number 6 of the 30 episodes we've done that is a media member. I think that's accurate. We have Gary Sheffield Jr. Now, Gary, with the baseball season kind of coming to a close and the offseason here, I guess, how has your offseason been treating you for baseball related things? And I guess, what have you really been up to since the World Series ended?
Well, I mean, you guys are Red Sox fans, right?
Yep. That is correct.
Yeah, so you guys are watching us get tortured by Brian Cashman right now. I mean, that's essentially what he's doing. He's showing up, and it's funny because every year it almost feels like, okay, the Yankees, they're like the bullied kid on the yard. Like, how many times are they going to lose and just snap and just say we're the Yankees and just start spending like crazy, like outbid on Ohtani, go trade for Juan Soto, bring in Cody Bellinger. You're almost like waiting for the Yankees to snap. And then what's funny about it is they came into this offseason, and I always feel like the moment is now that they're going to snap. And Brian Cashman instead basically gaslights the entire fan base by saying, yeah, I mean, we were pretty good last year. And you guys are Red Sox fans, and we both know, everyone here knows, the Yankees and Red Sox didn't have seasons anywhere close to what they wanted. It's just what it was. And whether or not whoever you want to blame, it really is kind of irrelevant. All that matters is that the output is not good. And when you're a team like the Red Sox, who have won 4 World Series since 2004, I mean, they're an organization that cares about winning. If they don't do that, it's a failure. The Yankees are the same way. We haven't come close to winning since 2009. And he came in and basically says, yeah, we were pretty good. We were in 4th place last year. So nothing good happened. And that was disappointing for me. So yeah, I'm being tortured right now. I'm just like hoping that like Yamamoto comes to New York, something. Like, I'm just grasping at straws at this point.
Was I know what you're referring to is from the GM meetings with Cashman, kind of getting quoted about I feel like every day that there was something going on, he was saying something ridiculous. But so coming out of the GM meetings, are you less confident? Would you say you're less confident in the direction, or are you just like, who knows what's going to happen at this point?
Oh, I'm most definitely less confident. And I don't know if like Brian Cashman's trying to be like big brain and essentially like pretend to gaslight us and say we're not planning on doing much, and then basically going out and winning bidding wars. Like, he just doesn't want to tell people that they're going Super Saiyan. But if history means anything, the Yankees are going to do absolutely nothing. That's just what the Yankees have done. And they almost just go half-baked. I mean, our own broadcast crew, and Michael Kay, obviously, he's the most famous name who covers the Yankees. Last year, he's like, all right, well, we got Rodon. And you have to imagine this is not their only move. They're not done yet. And sure enough, they were done. So it just kind of goes to show you that no one has a clue the direction of this franchise. And you've got people in our front office like Brian Cashman saying, we're not that into analytics. And anyone, I don't know if we can curse on this show.
You're allowed, yes.
Crock of shit. It's to say that the Yankees are not indulged in analytics. Anyone, and this includes Red Sox fans, knows when they play the Yankees, we are indulged in analytics. We are like the most analytics-driven, just lack of feel organization. We're almost like the Los Angeles Lakers of like 2011. Like, that's the way we feel. So I'm hoping that changes. But like I said earlier, I have no reason to believe it's going to change, and I'm just hoping for the best.
Yeah, because you tweeted today, the day is November 10th, and never forget that Juan Soto will be a New York Yankee. It feels like it makes sense, though, right? I mean, obviously, covering the Red Sox, you kind of want to see the Red Sox be involved in like juice like that, because it's better to cover teams that are in on these high profile players and or get them. But I feel like that's a move that New York has to make. A Juan Soto is something that again, New York, you're going to find headlines. You're going to find a way to, to hype up the fans. But I feel like that's something to your point, to get the fan to believe that the New York Yankees are kind of changing the way and going back to doing business.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I hope people don't take me serious when I actually think that Juan Soto is coming to the Yankees. I completely agree with you. Juan Soto has to come to New York. And of course, this is all predicated on whether or not the Padres are serious. AJ Preller with San Diego is being serious and genuine that he's willing to trade Juan Soto, because a lot of owners, I mean, we saw it in Shohei Ohtani. We were like, okay, they just don't want to be the owner that trades Ohtani. And I understand that. They probably feel the same way about Juan Soto, because Juan Soto is the best player for the Padres. So for me, yes, that Juan Soto has to become a Yankee. It's just like the no-brainer move. It would be amazing for the Red Sox as well, but especially given with what happened with Mookie Betts. But if I'm talking about Juan Soto, I'm pretty much just tweeting out of delusion. Like I have no reason to believe that the home run move will happen, because the home run move was Bryce Harper not too long ago. That was an obvious move. I mean, I literally had his dad DMing me on Instagram saying, hey, yeah, we haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything? His father is asking me, a media person, right? I'm just wandering around in the media, asking me if I can essentially like extend an olive branch to the Yankees and see what's going on about why they haven't called his son. Now, this is someone who clearly wants to be a New York Yankee, whether or not he's going to force his way there or not. But it kind of goes to show you the home run move we didn't even call. So now that Juan Soto is available, yeah, like to Chris's point, it is the perfect fit. He's a starting left fielder for the next decade. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. How can the New York Yankees not be in on this? And if they're not, I mean, I don't know why I'm doing podcasts if they're going to be not making moves like they're the Yankees. So it's disheartening.
Who would be one player that, not the Sotos or, the big time free agents that you would want the Yankees to kind of target that people might not be talking about?
It's probably just going to be someone who's left-handed and can get locked in at season's end, because ultimately the last time the New York Yankees were really relevant was in 2017. And I remember that run like it was yesterday, because it's the last time I had any happiness when it came to the Yankees. But Raul Ibanez was huge off the bench for the New York Yankees. And just having that type of at bat that they can trust in the postseason. I know that's a guy who's going to be pinch hitting, but a bat maybe like Jock Peterson, somebody who can adapt. Like, obviously they don't have to change their game to Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium is pretty much built for players like that. Now, Jock Peterson's obviously not a sexy pickup. Maybe a Jason Hayward in between when Jason Dominguez is not ready. Maybe someone like that. But the guys that are brought into the Yankees, they just situationally have to make sense. And when you look at the organization the last couple of years, they make moves that just don't make sense. Like, people who are not even really caring about the Yankees, like you three obviously are diehard Red Sox fans. You guys know the ins and outs of the organization, but you also are aware of what the Yankees are doing, and vice versa. You guys can watch our moves like Josh Donaldson, and I could have asked one of you guys, hey, what do you think of Donaldson? You'd be like, I'm glad they made that pickup because he sucks. That's essentially like how it is. So if it comes down to the Yankees making a move, whether it's a sexy pickup or not, it's got to just situationally fit. It just has to.
I can't help but just go back to what you said earlier about there's a lot of similarities between the Red Sox and Yankees, just fan bases. I think like what you said earlier is like you don't really have like a lot of, I guess, hope or faith like going into the offseason. And honestly, if you took a peek on our Twitter feeds or whatever these days, Red Sox Nation is feeling the exact same way just because of the season that just happened. So there's a lot in common between the two. And I think it just comes with the territory of being in the Northeast, and you just have people that care a little more. I don't know.
They do.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I grew up in St. Louis, so like I grew up in, I know the Cardinals kind of run deep through there. There's a good fan base out there for St. Louis, but it is nothing like the Philly, the New York, the Boston markets. You just can't compare it. Like St. Louis is good, but this up here is crazy. I did have a different question for you, kind of like going off a different topic here.
Mhm.
We had the luxury of covering the AAA team for the Red Sox, Worcester, this past year. So we were like kind of got to be around the team in the clubhouse, just doing our thing out there. We had a front row seat actually at quite a few Yankees prospects when Scranton came to town, because it seems like they were in town every other week. And a guy that absolutely torched the Woo Sox this year was Austin Wells. There's a few other guys that were pretty noticeable throughout the year. But are you a big prospect guy at all? And do you have anybody that you're kind of pretty high on that might not be like a Dominguez type prospect?
Yeah, one guy, Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones actually is the guy. I like him better than Dominguez. And I know this doesn't look like the sexy pick considering what Dominguez did last year, but Spencer Jones is just the type of player that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a player who's athletic, someone who has size. And in my opinion, it's going to allow Aaron Judge essentially to get into a role either as a DH, which I would love. And I know no one wants to think about what happens 3 or 4 years down the road, because, I mean, it's just not fun to do that. But at the same time, I am looking at the organization and what's best for this team. And what's best for this team is to have other outfield options that don't involve Brett Gardner and Clint Frazier and Esteban Florial. So if I can find prospects that I can put out in the outfield and trust, and Yankee Stadium obviously is going to help them, I'm going to believe in those guys. So Dominguez, Spencer Jones, but the big one to me being Spencer Jones. And if it's true of what I'm hearing about San Diego really wanting Dominguez for Soto, you go ahead and pack his bags tonight, and Spencer Jones is next up. So that's my guy.
All right.
When we were down there, I know he's not a prospect. We saw Jake Bauers hit a home run that I don't even think to this moment the ball has come down yet. He absolutely crushed that baseball. Other than we saw Bobby Dahlbeck hit one, which they said was like over 500 feet. I'll truly believe it if like they can prove that. But I've never seen another human hit a baseball that hard and that far that Jake Bauers hit one night. I think it was off of Paxton, wasn't it? Or wasn't it with I think it was one of Paxton's rehab starts.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever stood next to Bobby Dahlbeck, I believe he hit a ball 500 feet. That dude is a behemoth. Yeah,
they got a if you ever get a chance, you go to minor league parks at Polar Park, out in left center, past like the berm. There's a red duck boat that's out there, and they claim it's like 500 feet. I don't know if it bounced to it, but he hit it off that thing. It was a massive shot. But Bauers, though, that thing. Never seen a dude hit a ball like that before.
Yeah, and I love that you guys are even watching minor league baseball, because it kind of just goes to Andrew's point. People on the West Coast, and I'm not saying they're not big baseball fans, I just think that their quality of life, they're not as high strung, it's more relaxed, and people are just, it's the team that I support. They're going to watch the games. But for people on the East Coast, it's life or death. It is angry. It is tense. And there's also higher highs out on the East Coast. That's just what it is. Like, people are just so high strung, and a lot of times it's for the better. It just makes for a better, more fun fan base. But people on the West Coast, like, yeah, Dodgers fans might be watching their minor league team maybe a little bit, but like the Diamondbacks fans or Rockies fans, they don't really have much of a clue what's going on in high A or double A. They don't know that there's a berm in left center field. They don't know any of that stuff. So it is kind of cool just hearing people on the East Coast just being so tapped in to what's going on. So, but no, to answer your question earlier, I'm not big on prospects because these are the New York Yankees. They make more money than anybody. If it comes down to it, a prospect is amazing, but if I can get a sure thing, go ahead and ship them out the door.
It is quite interesting to like see the different like sides of it, because I think we agree with you in a sense where it's like we've seen it with Dombrowski, like where he kind of had that philosophy where he was just like, you know, it's nice to have a farm system, but guess what? I can get Craig Kimbrell and Chris Sale and win a World Series with these guys. And then you have Chaim Bloom that I think maybe traded like 2-3 prospects the entire time he was here. He did not trade a lick of guys in the system,
right?
Which is fine. It's a different way of going about it, but it's not the winning strategy, as you could see. So it is very interesting to see the big difference between like, okay, like that's the Yankees, that's the Red Sox, the Dodgers. Like they need to have a team that field. But then you have like the same. I'll say the Cardinals too. They're a little homegrown out there, so
Yeah.
it's like you have the Cardinals who are very frugal with their cash. So
I don't know. It's like some organizations though, and I will actually, believe it or not, I might surprise you guys. The Red Sox are one of those organizations where I do actually believe that as long as the fans have an understanding of what the path is. So let's just say this upcoming season, let's say this last year, they said, okay, this is going to be our rebuilding year. We're not going for it. We're basically betting on our young guys. And then next year, we're going to go after it. The Red Sox fans actually, just in terms of how they've gotten their success the past 15 years, they're willing to wait a year or two. As long as we're going to strike in a couple of years, they're still built a little bit different than New York. New York is about 2024, right this second. And if the Yankees are not good this upcoming year, and you could tell Yankees fans, I kid you not, you will be terrible in 2024. You're going to win 73 games, but you have the actual potential to make a World Series the following year. Yankees fans would be like, hell no, absolutely not. And that's the way that we're built. And I know it very much could be to our detriment. And you guys know it. But at the same time, the Yankees are a product that needs to be successful now, always. It does not matter like really what's going on. If the Yankees are not good right now for tomorrow, trying to be good in a year, it's a failure. So I do think Red Sox fans should be disappointed with like how things are going. But at the same time, as long as they know what the process actually is, and I don't think they know what that is right now, it'll work as long as they know. So right now the Yankees are kind of in between. We don't know what they're feeling, what they're planning on doing. They can go get Yamamoto, Cody Bellinger, and trade for Soto, or they can literally sign like Jason Hayward or maybe a Kevin Kiermaier and maybe an arm like a Marcus Stroman, and then call it an offseason. So we just don't know what's happening.
Back in September, I think it was like the day that Bloom got fired, maybe the day after, stirred the pot a little bit, where Verdugo's name came up initially, connected to the Yankees. There was the conversations between the two teams about Clark Schmidt. Now that's starting to pick up a little bit more steam again. Verdugo may not be actively being shot by the Sox. The Yankees are clearly interested in Alex Verdugo. Now Gleyber Torres' name has been thrown in the mix there. Wouldn't be a 1-for-1. It'd be multiplayer deal, more so probably going to New York versus the flip side. What's your opinion on Verdugo? Is he someone that's a good fit for New York? I think his swing would be perfect for the ballpark.
Okay.
I think from a fan perspective, I think you guys would embrace him. I think the same exact way he was here in Boston. He kind of got the shit end of the stick at the beginning of it. When you're the centerpiece of the Mookie Betts deal, I don't care who you are and what your skill level is, you're going to be compared to Mookie Betts. I didn't do that to him because it's not the same player. I'd love to see him here longer, to be honest with you. I'm a Doogie. I'm a fan of Doogie and how he goes about, but it's clear there's going to be a change of scenery. Let's say this happens and there's that swap. Is he a good fit for New York? And what's your thoughts on maybe Torres being part of that?
He's a pretty good fit for New York. And I'll admit, depending on what else was happening in the organization, like if they had an all-star infield and things were just running smooth, you could easily argue that Verdugo is the type of hitter, just in terms of his philosophy. He's a hitter who makes great adjustments. Obviously, you guys know he's very clutch. He's a very good at bat late in games. So that's good. That's something that the Yankees are interested in, especially with DJ LeMahieu taking such steps back in that regard. He's just not the same player. But I'm not after good. That's where my issue is on Verdugo. I think this helps the Red Sox more than it helps the Yankees, in my opinion. And it allows for the ceiling of the Yankees essentially to just be stagnant. And that's not what I want. In my opinion, you bring a Verdugo on, I pretty much know the Yankees are going to put him in left field. That's just like kind of my feeling. And him being in left field means that Juan Soto is not. And that's not what I want. I want the ceiling to be high in New York. I don't insist on winning. That's just not my thing. But if you don't go get the players necessary to where we come into opening day and Yankees fans believe We've built a team that can actually win the World Series. If you've done that, it's successful. Obviously, it's a failure once we've lost, but you can't bring in Alex Verdugo, help the Red Sox alleviate their pitching issues, which they don't have an ace. They have pitching issues. There's no reason to help a rival and then not help yourself unless if you're gonna trade with the Red Sox, it needs to be like highway robbery. Like you're bringing in such an asset that they're not interested in paying him, whatever that situation is. But in my opinion, you're just helping them and kind of helping yourself, but lowering your ceiling. So I agree with you, Chris, that Verdugo's a good fit. I really do. But given the lack of depth in terms of star power and the rest of the organization in terms of that lineup, I just think it makes them so like just marginally better that I don't even pull the trigger on it.
Unless Jamie, you got something? Because
mine's kind of like a non-baseball one, like switching up a little bit.
Okay, I was going to follow up on one thing that he said, and then I was going to dive into the next topic here. Is it was kind of funny. I just kept thinking that you were you said something earlier about how if they were clear with expectations in Boston that fans would get it. Me and Chris sat in winter weekend for the Red Sox this past year, and Heim Bloom was introduced on the stage and was absolutely berated with boos. He got booed off the stage.
Really? Wow.
Him and John Henry both got booed off the stage. It was incredible. I've never seen any. It was like awkward for us just sitting there. We're like, holy cow. People hated that guy.
Wow.
As this, I don't know. It's like what you said. It's like if he was a little more clear instead of being up there saying, oh yeah, we're going to build a winner, blah, 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 may have been different. But all right, we're going to dive into a new topic here. I want to know, when did you – so you have a YouTube channel now devoted to your golf game. Two golfers with baseball swings, shot tracers, and cameras. I like that. When did golf start for you?
Well, so as soon as my dad retired, he started to golf. He obviously growing up, I mean, he's hanging out a bunch of cool people that, some of which I meet and some of them I don't. But he really became really good friends with Michael Jordan over the years. And Michael always tried to get my dad into golf, and he never wanted to get into golf. I don't know why. I think he maybe caught into the myth that it affects your baseball swing. It doesn't. It might have affected Aaron Hicks' baseball swing, but that's pretty much about it. And he didn't want to get into it. But once he retired, he didn't have anything to do. I don't think people really think about that now, okay, Gary Sheffield, he's 40. He's considered old in baseball terms, but he's still a young guy. He's got nothing to do. So now it's like, what do I do? He gets into golf. Well, he's been berating me for the past 8 years about getting into golf. And finally I gave in, got into the game of golf. And over the years, I've been playing for probably about a decade now, but I'm actually better than my dad at golf at this point. And so now what I realize is okay, obviously we have connections. We can bring some professional baseball players, whether it's today or some retired guys. I think what we should do is baseball players love golf. They're usually pretty decent at it. They have a pretty good baseline. We can bring professional athletes to come play with us and almost do like a Bob Does Sports version of a baseball golf podcast. We essentially get to sit down with people for 4 hours. You don't have to rush any questions, anything like that. But if someone wants to see what it's like to go play a golf round with, say, a Cody Bellinger, you can get that opportunity on our golf show. So I figured we haven't seen anything like that yet. There's a ton of golf content out there, a ton of it that I love. And so we're trying to emulate them in a way, but at the same time, we want to do something a little different. So I feel like we're doing that and we're loving it so far.
I'll tell you what, it's every single guy that we've gotten to talk to in the Red Sox system, just prospects alone, every single one of them is a golfer too. It's insane. Yeah. It's like, if you're a baseball player, you are a golfer these days. Whether it started up in COVID or you've been golfing forever, it's like these guys are all golfing, man. It's insane. There was clubs in the Woo Sox locker room every single day.
Exactly.
It's nuts.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And so it's just cool to see, because you guys know how it is, and you guys are in the media. Players are so used to being asked questions. Hey, you hit 310 this year. How do you feel? They've got to give you an answer of, well, I don't want to come across as cocky because the everyday person's going to say that I'm full of myself. So I've got to give some middle ground answer, right? You don't get a real understanding of how players tick, who they are as people, and getting them out there on the golf course. It's almost just a breath of fresh air, and they just get to be themselves. I tell them all the time, you come on our show, if you don't want something in there that maybe you said, whatever it is, you don't want any cursing on the show, we'll take it out. All types of stuff like that. But getting them out of a situation where just a mic is in their face, and there's still mics and cameras everywhere. But at the same time, it just allows you to see, okay, what is this person actually like? And I think that maybe the Players Tribune kind of has that, but they're not really having fun talking in the Players Tribune. So if golf is fun for baseball players, then we might as well just bring them out and record them.
So that concept. Andrew and I, this is our first full year, like we talked a little bit earlier, where we were able to really be in that environment. We were at Polo Park. I got the opportunity to be at Fenway Park. Now seeing it from a completely different perspective from a fan, it's hard now for me to even classify myself as a Red Sox fan because I look at it so much differently. You know what I mean? Like It's not the same for me anymore. But we always talk about exactly what you just said is how you can go about showcasing someone. I can go right now, Baseball Reference, and see what your dad batted over the course of his career, but that doesn't tell the story of who he is off the field, what he likes to do. And that's the part of the stuff that I feel that if Major League Baseball can get their hands around better to showcase these players, they will grow the game exponentially. World Baseball Classic, awesome. It really did a great thing for baseball, but highlight these players other than dudes who just swing a baseball bat and throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. And that what you're doing, which is in that perspective, to me, is so much more value than, hey, nice job. You went 3 for 4. Great. You know what I mean? Tomorrow you're going to play. You might go 0 for 10 over the next 3 games, and people are going to forget you went 3 for 4 the other night. You know what I mean?
It's a different way to be covered. And obviously, most professional athletes, it's kind of an unwritten rule in this field. And you guys are in the same field I am, is that, okay, this player played well. I'll talk about how he played well. That's common. But then a player will play poorly. And then you'll basically keep it middle ground. Hey, you're not playing well, but you keep it very professional. That player is more likely to like you. But if you're the type of person that the player's not playing well, like we'll use Aaron Hicks as a perfect example. I've mentioned many times prior, he's not playing well. I want a solution, like as in a new player to come in here and play. Okay. Now that player immediately is off the list in terms of like coming back and helping me grow whatever it is I'm trying to grow. If you're trying to be John Heyman, if you're trying to be whoever, they're not going to help you because you're going that route. So in my opinion, it's so transactional, that relationship between media and player, that I was almost uncomfortable with that transaction. And I wanted to step out of it because it almost seems like a pretend it's better than what it is to get more traction in the field. And that's something that bothered me. And so what I could do is if I do this channel, I don't need Cody Bellinger to shoot 2 under. All I need him to do is just be Cody Bellinger, be the person that who he is. And obviously I went to high school with him, so I know how he is, but most people don't. And I know him to be a super cool dude. He's just a bro is the best way I could describe it. He's exactly, if you were on a bachelor trip with your buddies and you were playing golf in like, I don't know, Sedona, and you guys are like looking at, like you guys are just having a good time, having drinks, and you and your buddies are like, all right, cheers, whatever. Cody Bellinger is the type of guy who would just be able to hang out with you and your guys. Doesn't need to be out at a club. He doesn't need to do any of that stuff. This dude's on Fortnite and golfing with his buddies. And obviously he has a family now. So, but that's something that fans just don't know. Like they don't think about that type of stuff. And so when you can have that, I don't see it anywhere else. So I figured if I'm bringing something that nobody else has, I mean, it's it's either going to explode or it's just going to, I mean, it's going to explode in my opinion, but I just love what we're doing. And even if it doesn't really work out, I'm happy with what we're doing because it's not transactional. We're just having a good time.
Who's been the best guy on and who surprised you most with their golf?
Wait, what was that?
who's been the best player that you've had on your show, and who's surprised you the most with their golf game?
Believe it or not, so I don't know if you guys know this guy. His name is Danny Mendick. He played for the Mets this past year. This
Infield,
dude,
right? He was at the
yes,
Cubs a few years back. Yep.
this guy,
Right.
unbelievable golf game, unreal. So he's actually our first guest because we haven't had any guests yet. We're just starting to implement that in. We brought in DJ Peterson, who was a first-round draft pick with the Seattle Mariners. So him and Danny Mendick were actually partnered up. And so he came out and I said, "Hey, DJ, do you have anyone in mind?" He goes, "Yeah, got my buddy Danny. We're locking it in." I said, "Oh, with that quick? Okay." Now, I've heard of Danny Mendick. I know who that is. But when he showed up, this dude is my size. I'm like 5'10", $165. This dude from 285 yards out just hits a 2-iron. First off, most people don't even own a 2-iron. 285, he sticks to like 5 feet. And that's just something that people aren't used to seeing. They're not used to seeing him not dealing with the pressures of performing in baseball and just being able to enjoy himself with still like a healthy, we're betting money on all these rounds. So it just a healthy competition. And of course, all the cart commentary has been hilarious, obviously, while I've been editing it. So it's just a good time. And he's definitely the person that's like surprised me most between him and DJ. But we've definitely got some great guests that I guess I'm not allowed to disclose.
Where's your favorite golf? If you could pick like one course.
What was that?
Where's your favorite place to golf? If you could pick one course or one place to go.
Oh man, I would probably say TPC Stadium course. It's unaffordable, completely unaffordable. I don't know what happened to golf in 2020 when COVID happened. Dude, when I tell you everyone is into the game of golf, everybody is into the game of golf. That's just what it is. And a round at TPC Scottsdale used to be completely outrageous. It was like about $300. And don't get me wrong, rarely ever am I going to spend $300 on a round of golf. To play TPC Stadium as we speak, like if I wanted a tee time tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., that thing is $650.
Whew.
Never going to happen. And of course, now that I'm married, it's surely to never happen. So unfortunate, but you know, we'll see what happens with this YouTube show. Because if it really takes off, I guess we'll write it off on taxes.
Yeah. You're not kidding, by the way. Golf has absolutely exploded. I even found myself waking up at 3 a.m. to watch the Ryder Cup because it was over in Europe. So I was kind of just like, what happened to me? I used to not be like that, but it's amazing, man. And I don't know if you can give it away or not, but will you be heading towards Florida, Arizona, maybe more Florida for spring training time when all those guys are going to be golfing quite a bit?
Yeah, so Florida, definitely Florida, and that was our plan. We actually have a couple cool collaborations that are going to be coming in down the road. Like we actually have a foursome. It's going to be myself, my partner, and then it'll be Ken Griffey Jr. and Grant Horvat. So we just have a couple of people. Yeah, and of course. It's all about just like meeting people and getting an opportunity to collaborate, because when you do that, everyone always looks at podcasting and every field as a competition. And I don't see it that way. I really don't. And of course, me growing up and then becoming a Yankees fan and then growing a larger platform on Yankees Twitter, I've told people before, I don't like Yankees Twitter. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy most people in it because it's very high school. It's very much so that if Gary grows, then Talkin' Yanks is being taken away from, or Talkin' Yanks is growing and Gary's being taken away from. I don't see it that way. I see it in a world where everyone can eat because you're basically fighting for the scraps. That's just the way it is. There's so many eyeballs to go around that you don't need to take anyone's audience to grow. And so once I started to look at it like that and stop being so bitter about who's being successful, who's sinking or swimming, it's made it a lot easier to almost reach out and to make these people normal.
Yeah, I don't know if you obviously you know who Grant Horvat is with him coming on, but he hopped on he just did a collaboration with the Barstool Golf guys, the Foreplay Pod. And I was listening to that episode, I think it was about a week or two ago, and he was kind of saying that he was just like, Grant's like model is just like, I don't see, he doesn't see that as competition of like, oh, well, Bob Does Sports is getting all these views or whatever. Like he wants to collab with them as much as possible, because that's both audiences all in one. And it's like you're gathering from two sides. So yeah, I think it's the way you have to go about it these days, especially with like you said, there's so many channels out there and there's so many eyeballs that can go around too. So
yeah, people they just take it so serious. I mean, they'll legitimately think that, okay, well, I'm a Red Sox podcaster. The #1 Red Sox podcaster in most people's eyes would be Carabas. And people will think that, okay, well, in order for me to be a Red Sox podcaster, I have to convince people to stop watching Jared and to start watching me. So they feel like their competition is Jared. They have to be better than him. And in my opinion, you don't. You can end up being bigger just by doing what you do. And people just don't see it that way. We haven't gotten to that place. And I probably blame social media for that. It's almost like this you versus us type of deal. But if people started looking at it that way, I think a lot more people would start podcasts and continue doing them rather than comparing views and quitting after like 6 episodes.
Yeah, I think to your point, if you're trying to be someone else and you're not being who you are, and people are going to read that, you know what I mean? People are smart. If they can immediately tell that that's not who you are, they're just not gonna. They're not gonna follow you. They're not gonna watch you. I'm a big believer of relatability. I think that if you can have relatability to your audience, like you're doing sports media, 18 to 35, maybe push it to like 40.
Yeah,
that's who you need to hit. And if they can't relate to you, they have to like you. But if they can't relate to you, then you're doing it wrong. And even doing like we have, our podcasting is not our bread and butter. We do a ton of social media. We do writing, things like that. But I think we're just trying to carve our own little niche right now. And that's why even like just reaching out to you and just kind of having you on, you're not just baseball. You do something else. You do golf. It's cool to get a different, diverse outlook on sports outside the realm of just the Sox. So everything you just said, that's like music to my ears.
Yeah. When I saw you guys were Sox fans, I was like, hallelujah. Because if you guys knew how many Yankees podcasts I hopped on, oh my gosh. So like the fact that we even dabbled in Red Sox baseball, it's like a breath of fresh air, to be quite honest with you. And just like nice to see, because usually what happens is like I hop on a Yankees podcast and they're so understanding of like everything that's happening. I'm like, why do you need me? Like they know, like they obviously they know all the quotes. They're like, I don't know if you saw what Brian Cashman said. I think like it's more so of like trying to get my quote about something that was said rather than a conversation. And so like obviously being here, it was so different. So yeah, I appreciate you guys.
I mean, can't really. We didn't know. We were kind of like coming in. We're like, do we even like talk Red Sox? Like, is he gonna like, absolutely hate this or like?
Yeah, I said to the guys, I'm like, I'm not bringing up Sox. Look, we're gonna keep it Yankees. We'll talk whatever. He brings up Sox, we'll bring it up. I think it's it's cool to get that outside perspective, and just kind of talk. We've been talking Red Sox for the last, I think I've been blogging now 4 years, but we've been hardcore now recording for about a year. And it's just like, I hate the Yankees. I grew up despising the New York Yankees, but I kind of want to talk some Yankees baseball, and we got to do that today. So
yeah, and right now we're both just butt cheeks. The Red Sox and Yankees are just not they're not where they need to be. I wouldn't say the Yankees are a bad baseball team. I would just say in relation to where the expectations should be, they're terrible. They're just a mediocre baseball team. Given what they're paying, they're bad. And obviously, I want the Red Sox to be good, and I want to beat them in the end. I don't want to see the Houston Astros be our rival. I don't want to see the Astros being this team that, okay, if we want to win the World Series, we got to beat them. I understand the Astros have been there, they've done it, and they're a consistent juggernaut. I got it. But it's not the same as Yankees Red Sox. It never will be. And the whole Altuve thing, to me, it's run its course. That whole cheating scandal, I've seen enough of it. Yankees Red Sox is forever. You guys need to be good, but not great, and we need to be great. That's just how I like to see it. I'm sure you guys feel the same way.
I was saying even before we recorded, it's, what's it going to take other than really both these teams going back to, you'll never be able to replicate early 2000 baseball. Like that will always be a moment in time for baseball, Ortiz, Ramirez, that style of Red Sox teams to what the Yankees had. Obviously what we saw in 04, 03, that just crushing heartbreak.
What happened in 04?
Yeah, they won some big.
What happened in 03?
Well, that 03 to me, that's my Bucky Dent moment. I'm not old enough to handle the Bucky Dent piece. So I wasn't around for that. But even, I remember the ALCS when Jose Offerman was playing second base, and there was the phantom tag to Chuck Knobloch, and just, I want to see the Red Sox and Yankees baseball get back to the level of just where it's not a rivalry between the fan base. I want to see that passion on that baseball field. And we just haven't had that in such a long time. And baseball needs that, but these two franchise needs that.
Yeah. And believe it or not, it starts with the front office. And part of the reason why you saw Red Sox fans showing up and booing in droves is because Red Sox fans don't know what the path is. They are not told what's happening. They don't know if they're going to be aggressive. Is Shohei Ohtani on the table? Is he not? Is Juan Soto on the table? Is he not? No one has a clue. The Red Sox can come out and drop $425 million on Ohtani tomorrow. It could happen. Like, legitimately, Red Sox fans are talking about it actually more than we are. That's how much it could happen. And New Balance, actually, I believe they're founded in Boston. I think their headquarters is there. So it makes a ton of sense from Ohtani's point of view. But the reason it doesn't is because the Red Sox aren't winning. That's essentially the only reason why you can say that Ohtani wouldn't consider Boston, maybe the East Coast thing. But I don't know. It's just tough, because if the Red Sox ultimately decided, okay, this is the year we're going for, or we'll let you know this is not, next year is, and then the Yankees decide that Juan Soto is a can't-miss guy, we have to have him, they go get him. If the Yankees sign Juan Soto, I assume we'll see Yankees-Red Sox again in the next 3 years. That's my assumption. So the first step, I guess, is Juan Soto. And if that happens, phenomenal. If not, I guess I'll see you guys on the podcast next year where we're both talking about 80-win teams.
I'll tell you what, man. It's 2021 was, I know it wasn't a great ending for either one of our teams, but 2021, that was as close as it's gotten to Red Sox Yankees. Like, that playoff game was incredible. And my fiance is not a baseball gal. She grew up in St. Louis, so I guess she was a Cardinals fan. But I watched that game with her in downtown Boston, and she was like screaming. And I'm like, I looked at her, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Whenever the Yankees and Red Sox are playing that playoff game, and I'm just like, what on earth is coming out of her like mouth right now? I've never seen this with a sporting event. So I want that passion back. Like Chris said, like Red Sox Yankees brought that out of her, and just like the vibes at the bar I was at, it was absolutely insane. And I am ready for that to be back. All right. So you've given us a ton of your time, 42 minutes. Just want to empty the bench real quick. Jamie and Chris, do we have anything to end it on?
I have one spinoff one. It's kind of, we've asked a couple prospectors and we've got a lot of passionate responses. And since it's the holiday season for you, how early is too early to put up a Christmas tree and start the holiday music going?
Day after Black Friday, in my opinion. That's the day. I'm a huge believer in the holiday spirit. And in my opinion, people who don't like the holiday spirit just don't like, I would probably say they just don't like the whole Christmas aspect. I love Christmas. And of course, like, I grew up in a Jewish family. I was an only child. So it was a lot of times my mom, she was a Southwest Airlines flight attendant. She'd be working on Christmas Day. So I would actually go by myself as like a 16, 17-year-old kid to like Chinese restaurants and just sit down by myself. And sometimes I'd go to like an outdoor mall and just walk around and look at the lights. And I love the holiday season. And now, of course, now that I'm married, I'll be able to like create tradition of my own. So for me, as soon as I love Black Friday, huge Black Friday shopper, like as soon as Thanksgiving dinner's done, I'm like rushing out the door to go shopping. And then I'll come back and then try to put up a tree. So yeah, that's, in my opinion, that's the perfect time.
Now, Chris, what are we emptying it here?
Let's see. We talked baseball. We talked some golf. When you're not when you get to just kind of unwind, you're not doing any social, you could just be you. What does that kind of look like? Are you big into TV? Is it Netflix, Hulu? You just like to what does a downtime look like for you?
Oh man, probably just movies. And I'm actually, what's funny is Twitter. I feel like Twitter is almost an exhausting way of life. And especially like, of course, as things grow, like I guess 99% of the time you'll see negativity. It's just really not that big of a deal. And you'll just like kind of scroll by it. But I think like anybody else, I have terrible days. And a lot of times those terrible days, sometimes you'll have a bad day and you'll say, well, I'm just not going to get on social media. I'll go golf. I'll go see a movie at the theater, maybe go to Harkins, grab a popcorn, whatever it is. But sometimes you'll like stick around, like you'll hang around on social media and you're just like, you just feel terrible. So I'm actually getting much better now of kind of disassociating myself. Like sometimes I'll just disappear for like 4 days off Twitter and people will be like, where is this kid? And I'm like, I kind of forget that people do think you like live on the internet. Like they think that that's you. So I try to disassociate myself by way of golf. And that's partially why I'm turning this into a business, because now like what can be turned as like a negative and just getting too involved in like arguing with people on social media, I can just turn around and create something else that actually has value to me. And then of course, spending time with my wife. So that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Well, Gary, I'm definitely going to be checking into your YouTube channel.
Thank
because
you. I appreciate that.
That is two of my favorite things, by the way. Like, and I think a lot of baseball fans can relate to that. And just anything is, like you said, golf, everybody watches it, plays it, some capacity. It's in their life. It's some capacity, even if it's very little. So I actually can't wait to see it. And
Thank you.
I'm ready to see some of those names come up, and I know you can't really dive into it, but I'm definitely going to be subscribing. So,
thank you.
But thank you so much for joining us, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and you guys know like content creation is just so difficult. It feels like you're exposing yourself. Is this episode going to be good? Is this one going to be good? How do I need to edit it? It's never ready. That's just like kind of the way you feel, especially when you're starting. So, and I'm no different. I start a YouTube show. I'll turn it on. I'm like, well, are these few people that can't stand me going to go in there and like spam the dislike button? Like you have all these like insecurities about what you're putting out there. And so like, obviously when you have people who do support it, it makes you feel really good. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Like I said, we'll be tuning in, especially with your episode with Danny Mendick. We obviously, I'm pretty sure we saw him this past year in Worcester with Syracuse. So definitely going to be checking that one out and all the future ones. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Of course. Thank you guys.